Tennessee head coach Jeremy Pruitt's Monday press conference. Coach will start us off with an opening statement. Please raise your hands for questions.
You know, when you go back and look at the film, you know, one thing that I will say is our players have done, players and coaches have done a fantastic job after a slow start to the season, sticking together, working hard, buying into the culture that we're trying to establish here. Felt like Saturday we showed really good competitive character, stayed together. There was adversity during the game. Our guys tried to play through it, played hard, played tough. We obviously made some mistakes in the game that kept us from finishing the game off. You know, one of the things that we've got to focus on is we've got to continue to develop a physicality, toughness to play together, and we've got to find a way to win football games. That's the bottom line. We put ourselves in a great opportunity through some of the adversity, but we missed out on some opportunities, and it's something that we need to learn from, and we don't need to let it happen again. So, you know, I thought offensively, our offensive line probably played their best game, playing together. Wasn't perfect all the time. Our running backs ran the ball pretty well, and we've got to build off that and continue to improve there. Made some plays in the passing game, but we had a couple of turnovers early in the game. We lost vertical field position. There's 3 times in the game that they started inside our 40. Can't let that happen. Did get a stop one time in the red area, and then we turned the ball over once in the red area. So there's lots of things that we need to improve on. There's lots of really good things that we can build off of, but we got to move on. We've moved on. We play a really good South Carolina football team this weekend. They get turnovers on defense. You can count on Coach Muschamp's defense to be physical, to be tough, to be sound. They play in your face, lots of man-to-man. They're really good up front. The defensive line might be the best defensive line we've played all year. Offensively, they've lost their quarterback and had a couple of injuries there, but they found ways. They've been stubborn running the football, done a really nice job doing that, finding ways to create explosive plays, got good runners and got good players on the outside. So got good kickers and good return guys in special teams. So it's going to be a tremendous challenge for us. We've played 3 really physical games against really good opponents in a row. We've got to get ready to play another one. Our Neyland has been really an electric atmosphere the entire season, and I know it will be again Saturday, and it will be a huge advantage for us when it's that way. So we're excited about the opportunity to come back and play at home in front of a great crowd. With that, I'll take any questions.
David and then Steve.
Drew, what is the prognosis for Ryan this week, and then it came down to JT and Jared? What would that choice be?
Listen, guys, I trust our medical staff. They're the ones that makes the decisions on things like that. I meet with players, all of our players, lots throughout the week, but it's never about any kind of medical condition. So I trust our staff, and right now they're still trying to determine where he's at.
Steve and then Blake.
Just to follow up on what David asked, if Brian can't go, would it be Jared or JT, or is that still being competition? Or?
Yeah, we'll see how the week goes.
Blake?
Jeremy, probably don't think about this much, but do you see any similarities in the backgrounds between you and Will, both having worked under Nick and some other veteran coaches, on your rise to becoming a head coach?
Well, we've definitely worked with a lot of the same people. Me and Will have never worked together. We've talked several times since I've been coach here, and I've talked to him yesterday. So, but I think his teams have always played extremely hard. You know, I think they take on his character. They're tough. They're physical. You know, and they're sound. They always give you different looks, and you know, so they win a lot of really close games. If you look at last year, there was a lot of one-score games that our game beat us 27-24. They found a way in the end. You know, so we're going to have our hands full with them for sure.
Rob, Brent, Eric.
Coach, you already touched on the offensive line. That's the first time Tennessee's rushed for over 100 yards against Alabama in 4 years. Is that a result of just getting some chemistry, getting two freshmen season? And when do you see that, the reason for that improvement?
Well, for one, you know, we got guys that are starting to get used to playing together. When you talk about the combination of our offensive line and some of the injuries, you know, Jameer Johnson has been injured. Riley Locklear has been injured. Trey not being able to practice. You know, so getting the combinations, and then Wanye and Darnell just getting here. You know, throw Calvert in there, Ryan Johnson. There's lots of different combinations there. And, you know, I think the guys starting to play together in the same system. You know, now we're getting a little bit here end of the year here, so some of the plays are, you know, they've had a lot of repetitions at it, doing it over and over again, so we continue to improve at it. I think our backs are starting to get more comfortable with their reads and hitting the holes the right way. So I think there's a lot that goes into that. I thought our offensive line had an opportunity Saturday, especially in the second half, to take the game over. I mean, we go on a long drive there, you know, in the fourth quarter there, and we don't stick one in down there on the 1 inch line, but in that drive, our offensive line took the game over, and that was good to see.
Brent, then Eric.
Coach, two things. One, how do you make sure that your team does well on everything that's out there about officiating, all the things that didn't go their way in the Alabama game? How do you make sure your team is past that? And two, how do you manage them physically as you play your fourth physical game that you talked about? How do you manage them during the week this week?
Well, to start with on the officiating, okay, you know, I'll be the first to tell you that I fully support Steve Shaw and everything that goes about the SEC with our officials. It's a tough job. It's a very tough job. Things happen really fast. There's probably 3 or 4 things that happen in the game that I'm complaining to the officials about, and I was wrong. Okay, when I watched the tape, they were right, and I was wrong. You know, now there's probably 3 or 4 other things that happen in that game, all right, that I don't agree with. Okay, and there's nothing that Steve could tell me or anybody else could tell me that I would agree with what happened in the game, whether it was a flag on us or not a flag on us. Okay, and hey, we make mistakes as coaches. Okay, and they're going to make mistakes as officials. Players make mistakes. We all do, right? Nobody's perfect. But there's a few critical plays in that game. And I'm not saying it would have changed the outcome of the game, not saying that. And there was probably some against us too. But unfortunately, we're all held accountable. And from an accountability standpoint, it's tough. You know, what's the repercussions here? You know, the call on Darrell Taylor was absolutely not a penalty. It's not a penalty, okay? Would it change the game? I don't know. I know they would have punted instead of going on and scoring that possession. Could they have scored the next possession? Sure. You know, was there a couple of things in there that I felt like they took shots on our quarterback? Absolutely. Their kids are playing hard just like our kids did, but we had a couple of targeting calls the last 2 weeks. And the definition of targeting, you know, the officials in the game, they throw one, right, that gets overruled in Birmingham or from the replay booth or whatever. I don't know, just the consistency there. It's a tough deal for everybody involved, and the accountability's even tougher. But for our players, we're moving on. You know, there's nothing we can do about last week. We had 60 minutes to do that. And let me tell you, as coaches, as players, we all contributed in the loss. I thought our players played extremely hard. And, tried to do exactly what we wanted them to do. We've got to execute at a little higher level. We've got to do a little better job as a coaching staff to give them an opportunity to do that. And we'll start today to fix that.
Eric, then Patrick, and Austin.
Jeremy, on the officiating, were you given an explanation for any of those couple of plays? One being when they stopped play when you wanted the Wildcat, or how 1 second was rolled off the clock on a pass play for Alabama before the half. Were you given any type of explanation for that?
Well, I think there was a penalty on one of them, or a spot on the stopping the clock there. So they're trying to get it right. The officials are trying to get it right. Okay, just like I wake up in the morning and I walk out there. I'm not saying I want to make a mistake as a coach today, okay, or a player. Nobody operates that way, right? So we're all trying to get it right. It's a tough game to manage, but there's certain things that can be overturned, okay, and there's certain things that just, we get a holding in the red area, actually 2 holding calls in the red area, and hey, maybe we held, but you know what? You can call holding every single play in college football. We also get a lineman downfield in the red area. Every RPO that's out there, there's guys 5 to 7 yards downfield every play that somebody throws an RPO, which is really what the games became. Our guy was 5 yards downfield blocking a guy. So just like I said before, the inconsistencies, the really the accountability, repercussion of what really goes into it. It's a tough deal. So, but everybody's trying to do their best to make our game the best it possibly can be.
Patrick, then Austin.
You mentioned the targeting on Daniel. What did you think of that, and kind of what did you think of the way he tried to go in and make that play? And also, how do you think some of the young linebackers like Crouch and Pierce played, the opportunities they got with Henry being out and Tilly being out for the course of the game?
Well, to me, where Daniel got threw out of the game for targeting, I think it is targeting. He hit the guy with the crown of his helmet. I don't know where he hit him at, but it doesn't matter. Okay, and I really don't know what I could tell Daniel to do any different, because the guy's 6 inches off the ground. It's hard to go from here to there without hitting him there. And so it is what it is. Okay, but there's also rules to it. That, in my opinion, there was probably a couple other targetings in the game that wasn't called. Okay, and that's what I don't understand, because that goes back to the replay booth, to protect the game. So we'll see.
Crouch and Pearson, how they think some of the best handles.
I feel like Q played really hard. He's learning a new position. JJ, for the first time, got out there. It was a little bit all over the place, but he run around and made a few tackles.
Austin, then Wes.
Coach, the last couple of weeks, the defense seems like it's taken a really big step in the right direction, specifically the defensive line. What's been the difference for that group?
Well, we're getting a little more experience. If you look at the group, a lot of them wasn't here during the spring, or this is their first year to play here. The guys that, Greg Emerson, this is his first year to play. He redshirted last year. Darrell Middleton just got here. Aubrey Solomon, his first year to play here. Karat Garland. Some of these guys were redshirted, but they're going to get better the more they play. So, and I think it goes back to how hard they've worked at practice. It goes back to our coaches, getting them to buy in, continuing to work hard, and they've gotten better every week.
Wes, and then Jesse and Marshall.
Do you think your guys are starting to maybe get glimpses of what good football looks like, and kind of how fine a line there is between when you play a good team, you can do most things right, but just a couple of things that you do wrong are still going to get punished?
Yeah, you look at this past week, Alabama's really good, really good. And when you sometimes based off their ability and the things that they're doing, they cause you to make mistakes. And sometimes we make mistakes. The one thing that we've got to do as a team is we've got to eliminate the self-inflicted wounds. We've got to eliminate our mistakes and make the other team always beat us. Does that make sense? So, and that's something that we've tried to focus on. That's when we talk about playing clean. You know, I mean, it's hard enough to guard these guys, but when you're supposed to be playing cover 2 and the safety don't get a half, they're going to have success, right? Because there's lots of times you can do it exactly right, and these guys make throws and catches, and ain't a whole lot you can do with it. And you know, we had a couple of those in the game, and we've got to eliminate things like that.
Jesse, then Marshall.
Jeremy, I know you said you're leaving it up to the doctor, but will Brian be out there at practice? Will he participate in practice today? And then secondly, with just kind of his uncertainty with suffering 2 concussions in 8 or 9 days span, how do you kind of manage a game plan going into not knowing potentially having your starting quarterback until the end of the week or perhaps not at all?
Well, we'll get the other guys ready to play. It's no different than we've done pretty much every week. You know, who's going to be the starter takes the majority of the reps. So we'll get those other guys ready to go, and you know, we'll know in the next couple of days about Brian. I've not talked to our medical staff about where he's at today yet, but we're going to get the other guys ready.
So you don't know if he'll practice today yet?
No. I would suspect he wouldn't.
Marshall.
Jeremy, going back to the Alabama game, looking at that 4th and 1 on the goal line with Jerry here in town, have you had a chance to look back at that on film? What did you see from that, to your reaction now, and have you had a chance to talk to Jerry about that?
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. So, you know, it's pretty obvious what happened. It's over with, and we've moved on. There's lots of mistakes that were made in that game. I made more than anybody on our sideline, you know, and we've got to do a better job as coaches and players, and where we don't make mistakes. You know, again, this is a really good football team. We played them really tough, okay, but we got to find a way to execute and win in the end, you know, and that's something that we've really got to focus on. You know, that's one play in the game. You know, there was lots of plays in the game where, like I said, whether we didn't play a guy man-to-man or we didn't get a half, or you know, heck, maybe I should have onside kicked one. You know, there's lots of decisions that could have happened in the game that could have changed the course of the game. But that was one play. Unfortunately, it was an important play, but we're moving on now.
Steve.
Just check on, what's the difference you see in South Carolina these last couple of weeks, the way they played against Georgia, Florida versus earlier in the season? I'm just wondering what's the extent of progress you've seen those last couple of games?
Well, there's not a lot of difference in most of the teams in the league. It's a very competitive league. You know, it's probably comes down to execution. You know, turnovers, all the little things. I mean, there's good coaches at all the schools. There's good players at all the schools. Maybe some have more depth than others. Maybe some years there's things that could affect a team, whether it's injuries or whatever. But it all goes back to the details, and you know, I think they're playing really, really hard on both sides of the ball. You know, and they beat a really good Georgia team a couple of weeks ago. Played a couple of tough opponents here in a row, but I think they're playing really good football right now.
Last couple, David and then Wes.
Jeremy, how would you compare the amount of trust that you and your staff have in Jared on the field to where it was maybe in preseason camp?
Well, we trust all of our players. You know, that's one thing we work so hard to build that, you know, I guess trust in them. You know, again, it goes back to you want to rep something so many times that you never get it wrong. You know, and that's something that we try to do with all of our positions. You know, but sometimes it comes down to decision making at every position. So coaches have to earn players' trust, and players have to earn coaches' trust. It goes hand in hand. So, you know, Jarrett's a guy that I've said many times before, that I believe in. Okay, I think he has what it takes. Okay, but I do think that he needs to be more consistent with the right intangibles so he can play at a little higher level. He knows that. We talked yesterday. Okay, you look at that game, there's like 3 or 4 times in the game, you're talking about a guy standing in the pocket and making some throws. Done a really nice job, you know. You know, that game's over with. We got to learn from it, and we got to move on. You know, I said after the Georgia game that he would help us win a game or win some games this year, and he did last week against Mississippi State. He's a guy that's going to continue to go to work. All right, me and him have a relationship. I'm going to coach him hard. I'm going to coach all of our players hard. But he's a guy that I believe in. Okay, and I still do. Hadn't wavered in that.
Wes, final question.
Jeremy, when you look at this game with I guess both of these teams, I know you can really only speak for your guys, but you look at, you know, y'all, South Carolina, Kentucky's playing a wide receiver, a quarterback right now. You know, do you think that some of these guys who maybe somewhere around third on the depth chart at quarterback know just how close they are, you know, to being on the field, and how do you kind of make sure that they're ready, because it might be hard to rep 3 or 4 guys?
Yeah, it's definitely probably hard to rep 3 quarterbacks. I mean, you can get them a few reps, but they have to take a lot of mental reps. You have to be ready when your time's called. It's really at every position. You know, we've got guys, Solon Page. I mean, 3 weeks ago, he probably didn't think he was going to be playing against Alabama on 3rd down with a 1-score game, you know. So there's Jerome Carvin's a guy that's played really good football the last 2 weeks, a guy that we were considering, you know, 3.5, 4 weeks ago, possibly a red shirt, right? So, you know, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. There's lots of football left. You know, you never know when your number is going to be called, so you have to prepare for it every single day, like, you know, it's going to be called.
Thank you, Coach.